But today, I mean, you can literally swipe right on someone 3,000 miles away while you're standing in line waiting for your morning coffee.
Which is, it's the ultimate evolutionary mismatch.
Oh, 100%.
Because we are walking around with ancient hardware, like brains that evolved over millennia to connect deeply within small, intimate tribes of maybe 50 or 100 people.
Right.
But suddenly we've plugged that ancient hardware into this modern, completely frictionless infrastructure that connects us to billions of people instantaneously.
And that exact collision between our ancient evolutionary needs and our unprecedented modern tools is the focus of today's deep dive.
It's a huge topic.
It is. We are looking at a really fascinating stack of sociological research today to figure out how the very mechanics of human connection are fundamentally changing. So for you listening, we're going to look at the new rules of dating, the shifting definitions of friendship, and why the traditional timelines for family are being completely rewritten.
Yeah, and the overarching theme in all these sources is that humanity is navigating a massive structural transition.
A total overhaul.
Exactly. We've moved from a historical baseline of geographical scarcity, where you just had to make it work with whoever was nearby, to an era of absolute digital abundance. And abundance, well, it completely changes how we value things.
It really does. And real quick, just to set the stage for you listening, as we get into these really advanced societal concepts today, we're going to naturally pause and define some of the more complex vocabulary that pops up, just to make sure the ideas are crystal clear without losing our momentum.
I love that. It's so important because the jargon can sometimes get in the way of the actual message.
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack this. Let's start right at the entry point of modern connection, which is dating. Because the way we initiate romantic bonds is, I mean, it's overwhelmingly driven by technology now.
Ubiquitous, yeah. Technology is absolutely everywhere in courtship.
Right, and it used to be serendipitous, you know? You caught someone's eye at a bookstore, or a mutual friend introduced you at a dinner party. There was always a shared physical context. But now, it's overwhelmingly driven by algorithmic matching.
Yeah, and the data we're looking at makes a very compelling case that technology hasn't just added a convenient new avenue to meet people. It has altered the actual psychology of courtship.
Which is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. And for anyone listening who isn't familiar with that term, a paradigm shift is basically a fundamental change in how we approach something or the underlying assumptions we have about it. The whole model changes.
Right. The entire rule book is tossed out.
Exactly. When you remove geography and serendipity from the equation, you initiate that paradigm shift. You completely rewrite the underlying rules of engagement. You move away from the slow, organic process of discovery, and you enter this realm of active selection.
Yeah, I mean, it feels less like stumbling into romance and more like browsing an infinite digital catalog.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
You're just sitting on your couch, filtering human beings by height, by zip code, by their political affiliation, or like whether or not they like dogs. You are essentially applying an Amazon shopping mindset to human relationships.
And just consider the cognitive load that infinite catalog places on the human brain.
It's exhausting.
It's incredibly exhausting. When you're faced with endless choices, the brain naturally relies on superficial heuristics, those quick mental shortcuts to make decisions. You stop evaluating the whole person and start making split-second judgments based on a highly curated, two-dimensional image and maybe a witty one-liner.
Which incentivizes a very specific type of performance. Like, you have to be marketable.
It does. But even more critically, that ubiquitous presence of dating apps. The fact that this infinite catalog is literally always buzzing in your pocket. It creates this persistent illusion that there's always someone 5% better, just one swipe away.
The grass is always greener.
Right. In a geographically limited world, if you met someone and you shared a spark, you invested your energy into exploring that connection. The friction of the real world forced you to give it a real chance.
But with digital abundance, the moment there is a slight disagreement, or like the moment the conversation gets even a little bit boring, the incentive is to just discard the match and spin the roulette wheel again.
Yes, spin the wheel. And the apps actually use the same variable ratio reward schedules as slot machines.
Wait, really? Like literal slot machine?
Literally the same psychology. You're swiping not necessarily to find a partner, but to get that little hit of dopamine when the screen lights up to tell you someone liked you back.
Wow. Which totally commodifies the person on the other end of the screen. You aren't navigating the complex, often messy reality of a human being. You're just like consuming their profile for a quick validation hit.
Exactly. And this is why the sources point out that modern dating often feels incredibly exhausting. It's this high volume, low investment ecosystem.
But this dynamic, this tension between the digital interface and human reality, it doesn't just apply to romantic love. It's bleeding into our platonic ties, too.
Absolutely.
I want to look at how we maintain friendships today, specifically the growing divide between digital, screen-based friendships and analog, in-person friendships.
Well, technology has undeniably allowed us to maintain ties that would have naturally dissolved in previous generations.
Right.
I mean, you can maintain a daily dialogue with your childhood best friend who moved to another continent, which is beautiful.
It is, but I'm going to push back on a common assumption here, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
There is this pervasive narrative that in-person interaction is inherently more real or superior to digital interaction. But if you look at the actual depth of connection, online friendships can sometimes feel significantly more profound than physical ones.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Right. Think about someone who games online every single night with a friend in a different time zone. They're speaking through their headsets, sharing their deepest fears, their career anxieties, their insecurities.
Yeah.
And then compare that to a neighbor you see physically every single day over the garden fence, but the conversation is entirely superficial. You only ever talk about the weather or the lawnmower. Isn't the digital connection actually the stronger, more vital relationship in that scenario?
What's fascinating here is that you're hitting on a really crucial distinction. Emotional intimacy is clearly not bound by geography, and your scenario illustrates perfectly how a digital friendship can reach a really profound level of emotional depth. And just to define that for our listeners, when we say profound, we mean something that has deep meaning, something that really resonates at your core.
Right, versus superficial, which is just existing entirely on the surface, like the weather chat, no real substance.
Exactly. So yes, a digital bond can be incredibly profound, while an in-person relationship remains totally superficial. That said, the researchers in our source material emphasized that we cannot ignore the biological mechanics of physical presence.
Like the actual biology of just being in the same room?
Precisely. When you share physical space with another human being, your nervous systems are interacting in ways that are entirely bypassed through a screen.
Really? How?
Well, you are subconsciously reading microexpressions. You're sensing changes in breathing, reacting to pheromones, and literally co-regulating each other's stress levels.
Wow.
Yeah, the vagus nerve, which dictates our physiological sense of safety and connection, is heavily stimulated by eye contact and physical proximity.
So, okay, even if I'm texting my best friend my deepest, darkest secrets, my nervous system doesn't register their presence the same way it would if they were just sitting on the couch next to me.
It doesn't. Digital communication, by its very nature, removes the friction of physical reality. I mean, think about it. You can edit your texts, you can curate your responses, you can pause the game and walk away to get a snack.
That's true.
But in-person relationships require the real-time, unedited navigation of another human being. It includes the shared awkwardness of a silent elevator ride or the profound comfort of sitting in a room together without needing to speak.
Yeah, you can't edit out the silence in real life.
Exactly. Those micro moments of friction in shared environment, they build a different, more resilient type of social muscle.
Which brings us to a massive contradiction in the data. And honestly, this is the most disturbing part of our source material today.
Oh, the loneliness numbers.
Yes. We have algorithms precision engineered to find us romantic matches. We have global broadband allowing us to maintain emotionally profound friendships anywhere on Earth. We are technologically capable of being more connected than any generation in the history of the human species. So why is the data showing an unprecedented spike in global loneliness?
It's staggering. Sociologists refer to this as the modern loneliness epidemic. Across almost all demographics, self-reported feelings of severe isolation are skyrocketing.
It creates this profound paradox. And a paradox, for you listening, is basically a situation that seems completely contradictory or mathematically impossible, but it's actually happening in reality.
It's a great way to explain it.
Yeah, it's a mathematical impossibility where you have 500 contacts in your pocket and you are actively messaging people throughout the day, yet you are sitting in your apartment feeling completely, utterly isolated. The math just doesn't seem to add up.
Well, the math fails because we are conflating technological connectivity with being truly seen.
Oh, that's a big difference.
It is. Think about the environment where the vast majority of modern digital connection takes place. Social media. The architecture of these platforms fundamentally encourages performance over presence.
Right.
You are incentivized to post the highlight reel of your life, the curated vacation photos, the clever observations, the professional milestones.
You are building an avatar, like a polished, two-dimensional representation of yourself.
And when hundreds of people like that avatar or leave these glowing comments, they aren't actually validating you. They're validating the performance you put on.
Wow. Yeah.
And this creates a deeply insidious psychological loop. Receiving validation for a mask you were wearing doesn't make you feel connected. It actually reinforces the internal subconscious belief that the real, unpolished, messy version of you is unlovable.
Because if they saw the real you, the you that is anxious or failing or just sitting around in sweatpants eating cereal at midnight, they might not hit the like button.
Exactly.
So the performance of intimacy actually widens the gap between who you are and who the world thinks you are.
Connection without vulnerability leaves people feeling vastly more empty than having no connection at all.
Yeah.
It's totally analogous to eating junk food when you are starving.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. A bag of chips fills the stomach temporarily, and it lights up the pleasure centers in the brain, but it provides absolutely zero nutritional value. You are constantly consuming social interactions online, but your body and mind are dying of social malnutrition.
That is an incredibly stark way to look at it, but man, the mechanisms make total sense. And if we zoom out from the individual experience of, a lonely Tuesday night scrolling through a feed, this same dynamic is altering the macro-level architecture of our entire society.
It really is.
Let's look at the generational shifts in social expectations, particularly the timelines around marriage and family.
This is where the long-term impact of these technological and cultural shifts becomes highly visible. The traditional markers of adulthood are basically being dismantled.
Yeah.
The societal expectation that you graduate, get married in your early 20s, buy a house, and immediately have children, that is no longer the default path for younger generations.
And when we talk about societal expectations, we're talking about those unwritten, invisible rules of conformity, right? Like what the collective group decides is the normal way to live your life.
Precisely. The pressure to conform to a specific timeline.
Yeah. I was thinking about the source material detailing the history of these expectations, and it feels like comparing a strictly scripted play to improv theater.
Oh, that's a fantastic way to put it.
For previous generations, the societal expectations of marriage and family acted like a script. You knew your lines, you knew your cues, you knew exactly what stage of life you were supposed to be in by age 25.
And there were consequences if you didn't.
Exactly. It was rigid, and there were severe social penalties if you forgot your lines. But today, younger generations have thrown the script away entirely. They're doing improv theater with their lives. They are making up the timeline and the rules completely on the fly.
Yes. And to understand why that script was thrown away, we have to look at how the fundamental purpose of marriage has evolved. For the vast majority of human history, marriage was a pragmatic institution. It was about survival and economics.
Right.
In agrarian or early industrial societies, marriage was about consolidating resources, running a farm, and producing heirs to share the labor.
It wasn't about finding your soulmate. It was literally about surviving the winter.
Precisely. But as society industrialized, became significantly wealthier, and individuals gained economic independence, particularly with women entering the workforce in massive numbers, the foundational purpose of marriage shifted.
The paradigm shift again.
Exactly. It evolved from an institution of survival to an institution of self-actualization.
We climbed Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
We did. And because we are at the top of that pyramid now, the expectations placed on a romantic partner are astronomically high. We no longer just need a co-manager of a household. We demand that our partner be our intellectual equal, our best friend, our emotional confidant, our passionate lover, and our partner in personal growth.
We want one person to provide the emotional support that an entire village used to provide.
Yes.
Which is, frankly, an impossible amount of pressure to place on a single human being. And because we have this improv theater freedom now, people are looking at that immense pressure and choosing to diverge from the traditional path. They are delaying marriage into their 30s or 40s, or they are opting out of the institution entirely to pursue other forms of fulfillment.
And leaving that traditional script behind offers incredible, unprecedented individual freedom. It allows people to design bespoke lives that actually fit their unique desires, rather than forcing themselves into a standardized mold just to appease the neighbors.
Right, but there's a catch.
There is a massive hidden cost to this freedom. When you tear up the script, you also tear up the structural safety net that previous generations relied upon.
I really want to dig into that concept of the structural safety net, because that seems to be the invisible load-bearing wall of society that we accidentally knocked down.
That safety net was built-in, mandatory community. In the past, adhering to the script automatically embedded you within a network. You got married, you moved to the suburbs, you joined the local religious institution, you attended the PTA meetings, you interacted with the other parents on your block.
You just defaulted into a community.
Right. The rigid societal structures and geographic limitations essentially force people into physical proximity and shared civic life. When you remove the script, you remove the forced, built-in interaction.
So if you are doing improv theater with your life, you are totally free to perform whatever you want, but you are also entirely responsible for building your own stage, finding your own cast, and pulling in your own audience.
That's beautifully said.
The community is no longer handed to you as a default byproduct of your age.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of all these shifting dynamics. We've stripped away the old societal scripts that forced us together. We've highlighted the profound flaws and the isolating nature of purely algorithmic, frictionless connections. So, what is the path forward? What does genuine connection actually require in this new landscape?
Well, looking across all the historical and sociological data we've covered, it seems the underlying foundation hasn't moved an inch. Beneath the dating apps, beneath the digital avatars on social media, and beneath the completely fluid timelines for marriage and career, the fundamental biological craving to belong remains entirely unchanged.
Hasn't changed at all.
We still possess that ancient hardware. We still desperately need to be seen, understood, and valued by a tribe.
That is the immovable truth at the center of the human experience. Our biology is static. It's only our environment that is radically altered.
Yeah.
Since genuine connection is no longer guaranteed by the geographic limits of your village, and is no longer guaranteed by the rigid societal expectations of the 1950s, achieving it requires a completely different approach.
It requires an aggressive amount of intentionality.
Intentionality is the exact mechanism. Building meaningful human connection today requires active, conscious effort because you are swimming against the current of the modern world.
Constantly.
The default state of modern society is isolation. The apps are engineered to keep you scrolling alone on your couch. The algorithms are designed to keep your eyes locked on a screen. And the absence of societal scripts means nobody is going to knock on your door and force you to participate in civic life.
You essentially have to manufacture your own friction.
Yes.
You have to actively choose to be vulnerable. You have to choose to put the phone in another room, to, awkwardly show up to a local club where you don't know anyone, or to call that friend and admit that you are struggling instead of just sending them a curated funny meme. You have to opt into the messiness of real life.
It is the difference between passively consuming social interactions and actively investing in relationships.
Right.
When you invest, you are spending time and emotional energy navigating the reality of another person. You are allowing yourself to be seen without the digital filters, without the ability to edit your responses. That is what makes connection meaningful today. The fact that you actively, repeatedly choose to build it in defiance of an infrastructure that makes it so incredibly easy to hide.
To build it in defiance of an infrastructure that makes it easy to hide, that is such a powerful takeaway. So just to recap the terrain we've covered for you on this deep dive, we started by unpacking how technology has fundamentally altered the mechanics of romance. We've moved from the serendipity of geographic discovery to the cognitive overload of an infinite digital catalog, which commodifies the way we view potential partners.
And then we examined the evolving nature of friendship, recognizing that while digital platforms allow for profound emotional intimacy, they often bypass the critical biological synchrony and nervous system regulation that comes from sharing physical space.
Right, which illuminated the mechanics behind the modern loneliness paradox. We saw how having hundreds of contacts doesn't cure isolation if we are only receiving validation for a curated, performative avatar rather than our true selves. And finally, we explored how the dismantling of the traditional scripted timelines for marriage and family has gifted us with immense individual freedom, but simultaneously destroyed the built-in structural safety nets of community.
It is a profoundly challenging landscape, but recognizing these invisible forces is the necessary first step to navigating them. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder as you step back into your daily routine.
Lay it on us.
We've established that the traditional geographic village is gone and the old societal scripts are fading. We also know that our digital tools frequently provide the illusion of closeness without the actual nutritional value of real vulnerability. So look at your own life and ask yourself, what will your concept of community actually look like 10 years from now? Look at the specific people you interact with daily. Are the connections you are prioritizing today actively building a true, resilient community, the kind of people who will physically show up when your life falls apart? Or are you simply managing a digital network of avatars?
Oh man, that question really forces you to audit where you're spending your emotional energy. Remember that village we talked about at the very beginning of the show? You don't live there anymore. You have the unprecedented power to swipe, click, and connect across the entire globe. But at the end of the day, no algorithm is going to build your tribe for you. You still have to build your own village.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep questioning the systems around you, keep leaning into the friction of real connection, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.